We're live.
All right, so we're coming back in because Councilman Gerke has some extra information that he'd like to share in the budget.
At 8:10
p.m.
p.m.
Okay. Just to give you a little bit of background, I do realize that we did a wage study back in early 2023. Somebody can correct me on the dates if I'm not correct. But the part that is, to me, the elephant in the room is that we have never addressed inflation, okay? And I don't know how everybody else's budgets are, but since 2021, my costs for my budget personally in my household have gone up $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year, okay? And anyway, if you take a look at, I went across, it looks like from 21 to 22, there was really never any, there wasn't much of a change. We did do, you can see across there that there was some 2% and 4% and 2%. I could only use the people that I knew had been here since 2021. So I couldn't include like officers, that type of thing, because I had no idea who policeman was or policeman 1 was or fireman 2 was or whatever. But anyway, if you go across there and you look at, and it says since 2021, you'll see that inflation, if you go in and just kind of Google it, and you can get all kinds of information off there. But anyway, inflation since 2021 has been 18.5%. Medicare received COLA increases of 17.8%. So anyway, basically I just used some cowboy math and I made it 18%. In the meantime, the employees, disregarding the study, have received about 5% rate increases in that period of time. So from an inflation standpoint, to me, they've fallen behind 13%, okay, which is a considerable amount of money. And I understand that we can't just write a check out for 13%. I mean, that's pretty obvious that that doesn't work. But as what I would like to have the council do, and maybe have some input from the department heads, is how do we fix this, okay? And I think it needs to be fixed because as all the study did is bring our people up to where they were supposed to be in the first place. Had nothing to do with inflation. So I think that we need to try and come up with a plan, and I've just been working on this for a really short period of time. There's a couple different ways that we could do it in my mind. The easiest way would be just give everybody a 13% rate increase, but we don't probably have the money for that. The second way we could do that is say, hey, we're going to make that 13% up over a period of time. Okay. The one that I like personally the best that I had thought about is to put this in the form of a bonus. If we have the funds available, we can give a bonus. Now, if we want to do that quarterly, semi-annually, annually, whatever. But I just think that we owe it to our employees it's not their fault that inflation has been 20%. Okay, and I just think that we need to address that situation. If you look at some of the wages where people are making, say $48,000 a year, well, that's $4,000 a month, and you take out, by the time they get their deductions out of their checks, are down to $3,200 or $3,300. You pay $2,000 for rent, you pay $1,000 for groceries. Now what do? You don't even have money to pay your utilities.
So I thought after that wage study, for years, after that, like each year after that initial one, that there was going to be a 2% increase on top of
So
the.
that's
There's
a
a COLA
COLA.
built into it.
That's a cost of living increase, but that doesn't have anything to do with inflation.
Yeah, inflationary index.
But I
is
thought that
different.
the,
Yes,
Bureau of Labor Statistics will prompt you exactly what a
Right.
police driver does for the Rocky Mountain
Yeah.
area.
yeah,
Truck driver, plow driver,
So you're-
sanitation.
The percentage, because it's either 2 or 2.5%, that percentage was a COLA, so it's a cost of living increase.
correct.
It was 2.5 for police and fire and 2 for the
Right.
rest of the.
Because ours are 10 steps and the rest of the town is 20 steps, so they had.
but that was built in as a step, right?
Right,
Correct.
but to answer your question, inflation is a separate problem than a COLA. A COLA is
yeah.
a COLA is a cost of living,
It-
inflation is, it
Fully,
is what
yeah,
it is.
fully understood. Yeah.
When
So
the
they-
study was done, we didn't have the inflation we've seen in the last
Correct,
14 months.
correct.
Phil, now is this,
I feel like
per
the,
month?
it
Is that
since
what
COVID,
that-
everything's been
that
in.
4,000,
That
like,
is-
what is,
Well, that's
what does
part
that
of the
number
problem,
represent?
Because
That
it's
is,
inflated everything.
yes,
That's
that's a month,
monthly?
and is what I did is I took that off of the Evansville site.
Okay.
The
so that's
information was
Where
on there.
the
Those
I just-
numbers
I
are on
just
the
wasn't sure
Evansville
what-
site.
So
What
what
that
is
number
the
rep-
5544? Where
2021. Is that, are you looking at the year?
No, right here, for under
the
2024, that first line item is 5544. What is
Monthly
that?
salaries, I believe.
I'm
Right.
sorry,
Yeah.
under where?
2024.
5544?
This is where, this was the increase, that's the increase that they've got from the study.
But is that monthly or?
That is monthly, that's your figures.
That's what's ever on the website.
That's what's ever on the website. Somebody put it on there. It wasn't me.
Which one did you?
Are you talking the list of
Yeah.
wages that's put out,
Yes,
January and July?
yeah, and I just used January across the board.
So are those monthly wages?
Now, somebody smarter than me can probably figure out where those cutoffs and stuff are. I guess I'm just trying to demonstrate
Yeah, so if you
what we are
take
looking
the,
at.
Oh, that would be hard for monthly because that's based on pay periods, isn't it?
it's,
Now-
6 pay periods.
With these individuals, if you look at the,
so that's based on 24 pay days a year or monthly.
I just
So-
did monthly.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I've got listed as monthly,
Okay,
but in reality,
it's only 4 weeks, correct?
it's only two.
Okay,
24
and I
pages
just
a year.
used the figures that were there,
Mhm.
and this is more for demonstration purposes
Mhm.
than, I'm sure you could go in and audit it, and you could say, oh, well, Phil, you're off 1% here, you're off
No, I
$100
just,
there.
no, honey, I just was truly,
No,
just
you-
wasn't like, I was like, what, like, is this
See, basically,
weeks? Like,
if
what
you-
was this?
if you look at the first, and let's just assume that my figures are all perfect, okay? So if you look at the first since 2021, okay, that is the amount of an increase that they got, that the COLA increases, you know, or the regular increases that came along, that's the dollar amount. The next one is the percentages, okay? Some of those could change because maybe somebody had step increases that somebody else didn't, you know, but I just had to use what was there.
Yeah, so what I do is, because I have to report monthly
Right,
salary, so what I do is I just take everybody's hourly times 160 to come up with the monthly
Okay,
salary.
yeah,
For the
yeah.
posting.
okay. And like I say, I'm not saying that these figures are perfect by any means. It's more for demonstration purposes that I think someplace along the line, we need to see if we can make up some of this deficit. And that's because it's considerable. And I don't have kids. I can't imagine if you've got kids, what your increase is like.
From the inflation side.
Yeah,
We hunt more.
Hunt. I got a dog, does that count? He goes up every month.
It's a guard dog, it's taxi out. Like
Really?
the junkyard or, yeah, animal.
Oh,
care.
well, I don't have my neighbor's got a junkyard, so I could do that one.
You can offer your services.
Yeah.
All right, so-
I guess my question is this, so it says proposed here, so are you proposing an amendment to the budgets
Yes,
here?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, but I think it's gonna take some discussion, but, you know, we never really had access to this information until, or well, some of it we did, but as far as the budget, we never really had that information available until a few days ago, a
Last
week
week.
ago. Yeah. And, but I just think I think that it's worth a discussion.
So I guess that I'm a little bit confused. So I'm just gonna poke that elephant in the room because I already knew that this conversation was coming today. So we did the wage study and Janelle and Lexi and former Mayor Edwards spent an obscene amount of time on that wage study to try to get us up to par where we should be. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's an accurate statement. If it's not, tell me. I hear what you're saying about inflation and looking at these numbers, but my first thought is, where is this money coming from when we're gonna start looking at increasing a budget? I'm all for making sure that we are right in line with what the wage study is, because that was an obscene amount of hours with research that was done. It was an extreme amount of money from the town that we paid to get that wage study done. So are we saying that the wage study is null and void right now? Is that what we're saying? Because we're also saying, let's figure out where this funding is coming from. And I spent obscene amounts of hours with all department heads throughout the last period of time, and I'm gonna potentially have the treasurer step in on this, but I'm just wondering, where is this money coming from? Because I've spent countless hours looking over the budgets, and I want an honest answer. If we're gonna start having this discussion, I want an honest answer on where we are getting this funding from. Because until somebody can give me that answer, does this conversation need to continue?
How much money do we have socked away?
Yeah, and they've always done it by the 100.
The money that we have put away has to come for emergencies that we have within the town. Former Mayor Edwards and I have had extensive conversations in the last 12 weeks about the budget and making sure that we are being fiscally responsible with the money that we have stored away
And continuing to stay in
and
the
continuing
black.
to stay leveled so that we can stay in that area where we have extra funding and extra money, just in case if there is
Mhm.
a
Another
serious
sewer thing.
situation that happens, or, you know, this, that, or the other. Lexi, you correct me if I'm wrong as the town treasurer, but I just asked that very pointed question of, if we're even proposing to talk about this, I wanna know where that money's coming from. If we're gonna even look at this, I want an actual answer on where that money would be coming from. I'm not opposed to
Well, and we have to. be
giving
able to
people lots of money, but we have to be
able to
physically responsible.
Sustain it too going forward.
So what would sustainability look like if we even considered this?
I say we leave it the way it
I don't know,
leave it the way it is. And
Because I need my question answered if we're even gonna continue with this discussion.
I've got an answer.
Great.
Yes, even though our sales tax is defined by state statute, property tax, all our other income, our enterprise fund revenue is available. We could raise wastewater rates, water
We can't.
rates, sanitation, water treatment to compensate the wage increase.
We can't use
No.
that
No.
for general.
No, okay, no, and I don't have an answer. We can't raise.
I mean, you sounded
know what?
real intelligent as you were saying it. I was
Like
like,
fun
does
tips.
Greg have an answer for me? Because if you do, that's wonderful, but
How much
Shoot
money do we have socked away?
We've
We've got a lot of it earmarked, so I
we've got
mean,
lots of projects.
So are we
But
under
is-
budget right now?
Are some of those projects, I guess is what I would like to know is what some of those projects are and whether those are more important than our employees.
The projects
Because
that
I
we,
think we owe them, I think we owe our employees a fair shake, and I
Well, I think we made it right when we did that wage increase.
I
Yeah,
know,
but
I
that's
can
got
speak
nothing
for
to
all
do
of us
with-
up here
that's
that we
got
are all
nothing to
very
do with
happy with
inflation.
where we are.
My
Because
husband
if you
didn't get
did another
inflation
one-
raise. Did your wife get inflation raise at her job?
I don't know about
No,
inflation,
I-
she got a wages increase, so.
A wage
I don't know
increase
about
for hers.
inflation. I couldn't-
Wage
My husband
inflation
didn't.
or- Yeah.
So I think
They're
that we
not
just need
linked.
to leave it the way it is because there are proposed step increases that will happen. And I think we'll have to worry about those in the budgets moving forward.
so let's hear from our town employees.
I'm
I
very
just was-
happy where I'm at.
Are we, with the budget that was put forth, are we significantly under budget than what we thought? Had we cut enough that, would it be okay to add another percent if we were that far, like, under budget of what we thought it would be? Like, I obviously, I mean, I have no idea with the numbers, I just was
If we include our
curious.
one-time expenditures, no.
Say that one more time, honey.
If we include our one-time expenditures,
We won't be under budget?
no, we'll be like right.
At
Right
budget, okay, just, that's where I was just curious of like, if we were under, if that's something that,
So
I was trying to answer Candace's question a little bit,
It's
I'm
a
like,
very
I don't know
pointed
if that's-
question. we have to be fiscally responsible when it comes to where is all of our funding going with projects, incoming projects, because we have very big incoming projects coming in. And if anybody needs to understand what those projects are, Shane, our town engineer, has been very diligent at getting us information on those projects, but we have
And
large
those
projects
matches
that
that
are
we have.
happening.
Say that again, Deja.
And those matches that we have on some of those projects have a match.
And Metro, if we get.
And the
And the-
shelter, because that's gonna be a big fee. So I'm not completely opposed to the conversation, but I still want my question answered on where is this money coming from? If we're gonna be looking at raise increases, I need somebody to give me that answer. Cause I'm not just gonna pull all the money from just money that we have stored away for emergencies. I won't even like go that direction with that conversation because we don't know what's gonna happen. We've got lots of things in the town of Evansville that we have going on right now that I'm not gonna get into those discussions at this point in time, but potential situations could arise later down the road where we might need to address those issues and situations. Robert, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I agree. Cause I have been employed once before where we've gotten raises and then less than a year later, we were all forced furloughs.
Yeah. Deflation?
Yeah. And that's,
Could
to
happen,
be honest
yeah.
about it, that's why I like some kind of a bonus system that is not locked in. We do it year by year, but I think someplace along the line, we need to try and make up that deficit.
But where's the bonuses coming from?
That's,
I need somebody to give me that answer.
I also, as a matter of philosophy, I don't believe in the government being in the savings account business, and I can never get a straight answer on how much money that we have that's not allocated, just sitting in the bank.
And
And I
how,
would really like that figure.
how do we incentivize government workers to get bonuses, or is it just longevity?
Well,
Are we now?
it's not an incentive, it's
It's
a
a
way to
bonus.
make up, but it's a bonus to, it's not it's not an incentive bonus, it's a bonus to make up for the shortfalls that they gotta be making as a family.
Is that a number that we have access to? I guess I don't know. Is that something
what?
the question that he asked of just of wanting,
Account side of things.
You
Say
said
that
how
again?
much money do we have that's not allocated?
Yeah.
It'll take me a little bit to figure it out.
that's why
Yeah,
I'm just curious. I'm like, is that something
Yeah.
that we are,
And I'm not saying, you know,
Privilege.
were we privileged to have this? I'm new and I got all the questions and I'm just like, I was like, is that
Oh, you're
something that
fine.
we can, is this
No,
a number
you're-
we know?
Public information.
Yeah,
You
we're,
Okay.
we're
I just-
radically transparent with the information, with, you know, where we're sitting, but I think that when we're looking at what Lexi said about sustainability and making sure that we can sustain these choices and these decisions, not just for now, but for the longevity.
Right, but having that catastrophic savings of just that, of just like heck with our big flooding downstairs, those catastrophic events, that having that fund of being able to cover it is a better deal than having our city go bankrupt.
And it also, when we apply for grants, they look at how
Assets.
fiscally responsible
Right.
you are. Do you have savings? Do you have
P&L.
money in the bank?
And,
A what?
and I think reasonable
P&L,
savings are
profit
fine.
and loss.
I
Okay,
just,
that's,
I just have never seen a figure,
We have investments, we have savings, I mean, we have,
but I would like, you know, because I do think that the mayor's right. I think that we need to be responsible about this. And I mean, I might be a little bit old, but I'm not stupid. We can't pay out 13% in 1 year. We can't just raise 13% across the board. The purpose of what I put together was, and again, those figures could be off a little bit. I just
And
went
when
with what
I-
information was.
I went and looked at an annual amount and divided by 12. So the town clerk, she's actually at $6,006 a month. Soon to be going up to $6,126 a month.
So the figures are not accurate that are on this sheet. Okay,
One of the things that,
Well, they kind of are because percentage-wise they are because I use the same figures all the way through.
So when
But-
I do the
'Cause she
listing, I
calculates
take
it
the
same way.
hourly rate times 160 hours because I have to report the monthly,
The actual.
the monthly earning, the monthly salary.
so Lexi, are the figures accurate or not accurate? I don't have clarity on that just yet.
If you go hourly, they're accurate.
Okay.
The numbers that she's got is factoring in the additional 2 pay periods a year.
Okay.
So this is based on 24 pay periods a year. Because the state statute says to report monthly salary.
does that number include workman's comp?
No, and that's,
No.
that's the other thing,
No.
that's the other thing that was, you're right, that I was gonna bring up is we also have to factor in, it looks to me like discard, if you take out the health insurance, that basically our costs for that are about 30%. 28, 29, somewhere in there.
Pretty accurate.
And
And I don't think
so
that
the-
figure's real far off.
What
No,
I
that's-
report is no fringe benefits, no overtime.
Yep, no,
Um,
I understand.
yep.
I understand. And, but I think the percentages should stay consistent all the way across.
So Phil, I'm just gonna make sure that I've heard everything correctly. You're not proposing like a wage increase. You're proposing to give the employees a one-time or a two-time bonus just to make up for some of
Some
the
of the-
inflation,
Yes,
but doesn't actually affect their wages. That's, is
Correct.
that what I heard you say?
correct. I think to give it if we gave a across the board increase of 13%,
Oh,
I don't think that's sustainable.
It's not.
It's not sustainable. And that could all change, that could go backwards next year, depending
Mhm.
on how
It
the
could.
election goes.
Mhm.
It could go backwards next, otherwise, but depending on how the election goes, it could make it even, it could even be worse.
Right.
You know, so, but I think,
I just wanted to make sure I was
Yeah.
understanding. You were not talking about adjusting anybody's wages,
no,
because I think that's where people are hung up
Yeah,
on.
that's what
Yeah,
I thought
no,
you said,
I-
wages.
He's
I
not
think-
talking about adjusting wages. He was
I'm
talking
talking
about,
Saying,
since we have COLAs built into our wages, and I'm
I'm
regurgitating what
listening.
I've been processing. Because I've tried to process all this. So he's not saying adjust wages because we have the step and grades. We spent all that money on that. I agree with Candace on that. That was a lot of money and it makes sense. And now that I've regurgitated all this, you were getting at that covers COLAs every year, but it doesn't cover the cost of inflation
Inflation.
going up every year.
Correct.
You want to.
So if you did a one-time or a two-time or whatever, if there was money, like a bonus, so to speak, or thank you for being here, we're trying to help you, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it, yeah.
You're just saying this one or two-time check, I guess.
Yeah, because inflation could go
I
the
see
other
what
way
you're
next
saying. I
year.
had to process all of that.
And I don't, there's no way
My
we
best
can
way was
make
to
up,
talk about it.
we cannot sustain raising
Oh,
everybody's
no,
wages
no.
13%.
There-
We can't sustain.
That's absolutely not sustainable, I agree.
Do you have
We're
a,
almost at 13% if you actually look at
At the,
what my figures,
if you look at
the actual.
the actual study.
Yes.
But then you're right back to, then everybody, the study meant nothing. Now you're back to where you were in the first place.
No,
Phil,
we're
no,
almost
going
right in
forward.
line to where you want to be.
do you have examples, public or private, that give inflationary bonuses to employees?
I don't, where I work, we get,
Oh,
We
there's
get
no
a
business,
bump.
like other municipalities or large,
I-
small companies?
I just had to-
not my
I had
job,
to
that's
research.
beyond my
Okay.
pay grade.
I just
No.
didn't know
What
if
we
it-
were actually talking.
you saw that as a
But that
good
makes
idea
sense.
from
That's
somewhere
an
else.
Well, you started shaking your head, so I think that
Inflationary bonus, all right.
regurgitating
and
that. helped
Chad
when
had
was
done that in
actually
the past,
looking.
Say that again?
We had
Chad had
extra
done
money.
in the past.
'cause
When we had extra money.
that came in from
Yeah.
something.
And if we don't have the money, we
Was it
can't
the
do it.
COVID money that came in and then he gave up like a
Because
COVID?
I think the mayor is,
Well, and then.
the mayor is
and then-
correct. We need to be able to come up with the money, but, you know,
I'm tracking.
And then
It's
the
just-
fire department had gotten some basically COVID money,
We
and so
got-
then
We
the
got-
rest of us employees got what the cost difference was in payroll taxes.
Right, okay. Okay.
does that make sense now, Deja?
Yeah,
Because I
Before I
don't,
wasn't- I
we
wasn't
cannot,
on the right.
because if we gave those kind of increases out, we're stuck with those forever.
I'm gonna
You
quit the
can't very
council and
bad-
get a.
You can't very well come
government job.
back 2 years from now and say, hey, you know that now inflation, we got deflation, so therefore we're gonna take wages
Deflate,
away.
right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
you could, but they probably wouldn't be here real long.
So I just want to bring this back around because Lexi is our town treasurer and she looks at our finances very closely. And so Lexi, can you please explain whether or not if we actually have the funds for bonuses or one-time bonuses so that everybody can clearly understand from the town treasurer's
I'm
perspective
trying
where
to
we're
get
at?
what, so you're saying this is where she was at monthly and this is what you wanted the increase to be? With the 13%?
If we did the 13%, but I
Okay.
don't,
So
it's
she's
not
at-
realistic, and I know that.
Yeah, we're almost there actually with our raises.
I
'Cause
know,
right now
but
she's
if you
at
take out- I
$6,006.
took out the pay adjustment that was made because of the study. Because I don't think that's fair to go in and say, well, we gave you a big raise back there, but that had nothing to do with inflation. Nothing.
Okay, I'm wrapping my head
Yeah.
around.
So I don't
That's
understand what you're
Well,
needing.
don't
So,
COLAs
so
consider inflation?
Yes,
I mean,
that's why you
inflation is
have
built into a COLA.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean,
why,
it's just
that's
the
why,
unfortunate situation right now where inflation is outpacing.
oh, it's
you know,
nuts.
that.
And,
If we do deflation, are we giving money back?
no,
No,
no, but it's,
Right?
and that's why you do the bonus. I think that the bonus system is more realistic because it's one-time deal.
So Lexi, as our town treasurer,
Yeah.
do we have the funding for these said bonuses?
Right now.
We do not have the funding for these said bonuses right at this moment.
I think partly because we did take an increase in
There's a lot of positions
retirement,
that,
health insurance, workers' comp went up a little bit.
Well, you can look across at our budget and look at what, I know on Chief Molsom's deal, his first aid supplies jumped like 30 or 40%, but the costs went up. If you go right across the line on a lot of those items, it's because the costs went up. And that's all I'm saying. And I think, I don't know,
Maybe the second.
So right now, we have the town treasurer saying we do not have funding currently to address bonuses.
No,
I
honey.
think I'm having a hot
Yeah,
flash.
I'll say it feels
Lexi,
good.
that's correct, right?
Yes.
You might be having a hot flash.
Yeah.
I can see you're flushed.
But I still would like to see our funding, our funds. I would like to see that figure. I've never seen it.
I don't think anybody is hiding that anywhere. We could give it to
No.
anybody.
And it changes daily.
But I need for everybody to understand what our town treasurer is unequivocally saying, that we do not have the funds right at this moment to address said discussion. Is everybody understanding that piece?
Yeah.
Is there any confusion about that piece? Because this lady, she works tirelessly every day on numbers and data collection, and she looks at every little detail. She's probably one of the most detailed people I've ever seen in an office running numbers, because I get to watch her all throughout the week on a regular basis. So she's saying that we don't have the funds right now. Now, that doesn't mean that later down the line, we may have the funds. I don't know. I can't plan for the
I think
future.
that's something maybe towards like the end of the fiscal year. We have an overage, hey, revenue came in here, our expenses are here.
But see, that's
We
what I,
have money.
that's what I said. Nobody, I'm sorry, I hate to be rude, but nobody is listening. I think it needs to be a bonus system dependent upon available funds. That's all I ever said. I never said we had to give everybody 13% wage increases. I never said we needed to do it today. I said when the funds are available, we need to do that. And like I say, I don't want to be rude, but that's what I said. And the conversation that Chief Molsom and I had today, because I ran it by him, because I wasn't sure whether the fire department had a separate deal from the city or from the town, because the city of Casper does, because they're unionized and it's a complete separate deal when I was putting together this stuff. So I was still working on this afternoon at 3:00 or whatever. And I agree with you completely. We can't spend money we don't have. Okay? That's not the point. The point is that I think we need to do everything we can to do something for our employees to soften the cost of inflation up. And I don't think that it can be anything that is permanent.
So
It's-
are there any other comments, questions, concerns regarding this? Does everybody understand what Councilman Gerke is saying? Is there any confusion about what Councilman
I
Gerke
understand
is saying?
now. Makes sense to me.
Okay, so this is not something that we can potentially look at this moment in time. That does not mean that we won't potentially look at it during the time that you had discussed and talked about. Does anybody have any additional questions regarding this?
I just have one other comment. I guess that based on what your stated position is, that it's not really a proposed budget amendment then, right? We're not talking about changing the
No.
budget at
No,
all.
no.
Okay.
So it's wrong meeting then for what you have here.
Well,
Yeah.
kind of,
Okay.
sort of, but it was like, I think it just needed to be out there.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it is kind of part of the budget.
Okay, so does anybody have any additional questions? Because I'm gonna bring us right back around again.
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
Nothing for me.
If we shut the mics off again, they're not coming back.
Everyone's here. No one's on pee break. Are we all good? No more pee breaks.
Okay.
Everyone's here. We're all good.
Everybody's solid on where
Okay,
we're
are we
at.
done?
We are done at 8:44 PM.
We just gotta nestle back in and plug in.
Lexi, would you be able to get the council